Greetings, I'm Pillar Nexus to Ancient Gladiator with more Pillar Loves Tabletop Games, because somehow I ended up with another one. Today is Valparaiso. The goal of the game is to have the most points at the end, and actually playing the game, you'll start out with merchants, and a ship, and goods, and pesos. And at the start of the round, you'll take your various actions and you'll place them face down as part of the planning phase. And then you have the option to pay 5 pesos and add another card here. If you built 2 of your houses out here somewhere, you have the option for another card. And starting with the first player and going around, players can either use their mayor's space or the one in the furthest to the left that's open. You have the option to jump ahead by paying pesos if your original plan didn't work out. So let's actually cover the actions here. There's this action, which lets you move goods between your boat and your warehouse, provided your boat is inside. If you completely fill up a boat that was in a state of not being filled up at the start of the action, you'll get a victory point. And then there's sell a good. Take a good from your warehouse, send it to the bank, get 10 pesos. Hire a merchant. If you've got one of each resource in your warehouse, spend them, get a new merchant. They start out in Valparaiso. So if you have any cards that move them this turn, you can move them this turn. If you're only playing a 2-player game, you'll only have access to 1 extra merchant. This card lets you move merchants. You can move them 1 space, 2 spaces at the cost of 1 peso, or 3 pesos at the cost of 4 more pesos. Or actually just 4 pesos. And that's each of your merchants. If you move merchants through occupied locations, it costs you money. So keep that in mind. Yeah. Like, if someone wants to move through here, I get 2 money. And this doesn't cost me any extra. There's paying money to put a house where you have a merchant. So you'll spend the money, you'll go here, you'll get the points for it. It goes there. This counts as an extra merchant for you when doing the action that lets you make use of these. And now, the thing is, though, if you try to do any actions here, it won't work with just your house. You have to have at least 1 merchant there. You trade in the village with this action. So, using the bottommost thing, at the start of the game, there's B, C, D, E, and the tiles that go there. It's sort of random. So you can do this a number of times equal to the merchants plus house that you have there. If there's any like prerequisite stuff like needing to spend pesos, you'll need to be able to do that, as well as having the presence there. So doing the action here, I've got 2 of them, so I get 2 wheat and 2 silver. Wheat, silver, copper. Yeah, that action will get me those. Moving your boat to like any sea space lets you return to Valparaiso or go out to any of these zones. You have to have the goods on your ship already to then use this action. You spend 3 goods of that kind if you have it. And you take one of the cards. So, at the start of the game, there will be these A cards. Let's see if I can get the glare down. There it goes. And then when you take them, that goes to your available action cards for next time. And then the points on the corner, you get that either by giving up the card during the game or at the end of the game. Alternatively, sometimes trying to do your action is not going to work out, and you'll have to resort to taking the alternate action, like taking a good or taking pesos. Every color, the alternative actions are tied to a different card. So, I believe. But the empty spot will then be filled up with the new one. If you go to take a B card, and there's still at least one A card somewhere out there, you're going to have to give up 10 of your pesos and put it out there. And then it goes to who does it go to? That's one thing I'm doing this. Who does it go to? Oh. It'll go. I'll have to look for it later. See, anything I missed? When you trade in a village, these get knocked down. This goes to the top of this row, and the bottom of that goes to it. Also, if you ever need to during the game, you can give up a good for 3 pesos. Oh, that's right. The sectors that have the A cards, if there's money there, the player who actually takes an A card takes the money. Okay. Had to make sure that was cleared up. Okay. Alternative actions. So, yeah. So on your turn, you'll resolve a card, Next player will go, and then so on and so on, until everyone's resolved their cards. And then at the end of the round, the player with the most buildings in this section gets 5 pesos. The second most gets 2. In turn order, players have a chance to give up one of their achievement cards to get the points. And then the merchants that you have out here return Valparaiso, with one exception. A merchant in a village where they don't have any houses. All the others come back. Yeah. And then the player who last built a residential building in Valparaiso becomes the new starting player. If the starting player has already been the starting player, or if it's no house has been built, then it just passes to the left. The game will end when someone reaches 18 points, or when an empty spot needs to be refilled out of those, and there's no cards to do it with. And then end game scoring. Every good you still have in your warehouse, you sell for $3. And then every $20 you have gets you a point. And then any cards you still have for the achievements are worth points. Most victory points wins. In case of a tie, cash is king. Like usual. Like a lot of games do. If there's still a tie, the tied player who went last in the final round out of those players wins. So, why do I love this game? Probably because this whole planning aspect of anticipating where things are going to end up, trying to get ahead of where it's going to be, a little bit of programming with the cards, sort of Robo Rally-ish. It's been a long time since I last played this game, and I only played it once back then. But this is just a pretty solid game. This is not too complicated, I think. A lot of possibilities. So, I believe in my last video I said this. I didn't have any plans for any more board game videos. So what happened was I stopped by the game store the other day, and my Flesh and Blood cards actually sold. So I had store credit, so this was the one game that I was hoping we could play for the freaking board game league, and still on the shelf. Still there. I got it. And I'm glad I got it. Oh. There's also an advanced play mode, which uses a sand timer, which I would love to try out one of these days. And then, yeah. That makes things interesting. Yep, Valparaiso. It's a decent game. Check it out. I recommend it. This has been Pillar Nexus, and we will see you next time.